Welcome to Practice Owner Success Strategies with my awesome friend, Dr. Christian Mullin. The theme of new dentist hiring associates. Just a few years ago, you were in dental school, right, Christian? 2020?
That's right.
The pandemic, it was just year one of the pandemic. Are we out of the pandemic?
Baby.
Are we?
Yeah.
Is it year four? We done? I don't know. I don't know what the official thing. So hopefully we're past it. So went to dental school, AGD, worked as an associate, now as a practitioner. We're going to dig into all of that and more. That was just the live preview, but I want to share that if you're watching with us on Dental Nachos TV, on Facebook, on demand, our amazing sponsor, the Dental Success Network, which has contributed to my success and sanity and Christian's success and sanity, along with other resources, is giving a free 45-day pass. Text DSN to 215-798-9897 to get a free 45-day pass. Christian, as someone who is the owner of a 50,000 member Facebook group and loves the free Facebook group world, I went into the DSN workplace group and I asked a question the other day that I didn't feel comfortable asking on my own Facebook group. I know there's many values of the DSN, from the Facebook group, special Facebook group, to the deals, to the access to coaches, but just tell our audience, what do you get out of it as a practice owner?
Yeah, I think for me, it's honestly, the resources were crucial, especially they're even crucial now, but especially right before I started, and in the first 6 months of practice ownership, they have so many free resources that were just amazing to kind of help someone that doesn't really know what's going on just kind of take the next step forward.
Yeah, that's a bit. It's kind of like your practice as a child, and then you have all these parents that are in the game doing it every day, from the Dr. Jason Tenoris, who was my dental school classmate, from the Dr. where you say, is this thing normal that I'm going through?
Yeah.
And you can ask without judgment, without any trolling. So I just think that everyone should grab a free 45-day pass. It makes you feel less alone. What Mark has done is fantastic. They're totally a sponsor and totally awesome. So I know that's one of the things that's helped you. I also want to share that we are here getting an associate for you, a dentist, Christian, to share in the joy of full contact arts and crafts on people that don't want to be there. That's dentisting, right? So as we will dig into your story, but you are the star of this show. Tell this audience, because there's people watching in on Zoom, there's people watching on Facebook Live, there's people watching as recording. Why should they come and work with you? Why do you need an associate? And what does this job look like?
Man, why should they work for me? I think that part of dentistry that you don't realize you don't realize it, but working with other dentists is a lot more fun than not working with dentists.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like it's so easy to kind of get caught in the rat race of just kind of the dentisting world. And I think that for me, I bring a sense of kind of humor and fun to the workplace that is kind of tricky to find in dental offices nowadays.
Yeah.
So, we have a very strong core values and mission that we kind of operate on. And again, kind of going back to DSN, that was kind of where I bought the acquisition manual. It's probably around here somewhere, but they helped me kind of craft my vision and my core values and my mission, and that has helped kind of drive kind of where we are today and kind of create the culture. We're not really interested in hiring off of a skill set necessarily, but more of trying to fit puzzle pieces together. Not all puzzle pieces go together. We want to make sure that the cultural aspect definitely works to not disrupt that, because we have a really good, nice team and family atmosphere going on, and we don't want to disrupt that.
I love that. I love that. I was just in my office yesterday, and we have our mission, vision, core values on our computer, but I always say that's not just a screensaver, it's a success strategy. So you told a great story there, which I think is incredibly important, telling a story. But I know my dentist people, they love stats as well. So what are the stats? Why do you need an associate? Tell us, just give us stats using numbers as
Love
why
numbers.
too many dentists, too much dentistry for
Yeah.
one Dr. Christian Mullin to do.
Yeah. So I guess the first that comes to mind is average periodic exam for one dentist, a busy dentist per month, is about 120 to 125 patients or POEs. I'm doing on average 170-ish to 195 on, in certain months. So it's definitely a lot from the standpoint of just running around. They always say I have my roller skates on, and that is a fact. So that seems to be more common.
Tell us why, I had a mentor who taught me, and I didn't believe him when I was young, but he said being busy can be the booby prize of dentistry. What does it feel like when you're on those roller skates? Why is it like, oh, you must be making money, it must be great? What's that feeling like when you're staring down a schedule that you just know is going to require roller skates?
Yeah. So for me, it's okay every once in a while. Like, I think that if you're a little bit more seasoned, I think you'll understand that the less patients you see, typically the more productive your schedule is. Unless you have like 20 cancellations, in which case you need to figure that out first. But yeah, for me, it's more oh, sorry, I lost the train of thought.
I mean, like what I'm sharing is it's okay once in a while to be on roller skates, but being on it day after day, I hope my team tags Dr. Omar, 2021 grad like you. He needs an associate. He went from 70 to 140,000 a month, but his wife lives in another state, and she said when she comes in to visit, she can't work like that. It's not sustainable. There's a lot of S words. It's not sustainable to work like that day in and day out.
It's really fun in the beginning because it's like, whoa, and then you're like, whoa, I'm busy. So, and then after 7 months of that, you kind of you're like, you know what, this is kind of not. Well, here's the problem. I got into dentistry to develop relationships with people. And so developing relationships with people when you're seeing 30 to 35 patients a day, turns out is very challenging.
Right.
You can develop rapport, of course, but it's just not the type of practice that I had envisioned. And to be fair, I took over a practice that was a 2-doctor practice, and I am 1 doctor. Right. So that's part of it.
You had an idea that this would happen, and this is why you have a true need. I say as an associate position, a car or a boat, car's a need, a boat's a want. Your practice, we're going to go over some numbers soon, but you're currently on pace with 1.6 million to do 1.6 million.
Yeah.
And that exceeds what most solo general dentists can handle in a reasonable way. And it's what you want, right? If there's a dentist that's doing 2.2 million, working 6 days a week by themselves, and it makes that person happy, well, that's great. But many people, they didn't get into dentistry to feel like their loops were on fire, right? That's what like your loops were on fire all the time. So you brought some stuff, but I have some questions from the audience, and I see some awesome dental students who were at the Dental Success Summit with me last week, or last couple of weeks were here. Awesome Dr. Brandon Labe. I don't mind violating Zoom HIPAA for Brandon Labe. He's one of my favorite young dentists out there. He's going to be working with Dr. Arash through Dentist Job Connect. But let's just do some fun questions before we get to it. So
do it.
Dr. Christian Mullin, 2020 grad. What was the value of doing an AEGD before launching into the real world?
For me, it was sort of a personal decision. I felt like Maryland, I went to University of Maryland, and I felt clinically well-trained. But for me, it was more along the lines, and I kind of talked about this in the last webinar, I wanted to be able to treat someone that walked in with a problem, and I wanted to be able to do that myself, or at least be able to treatment plan how to do that myself, rather than saying, I have no idea what's going on. Help and send
and the help in the real world. We just had a D4 from Penn who was our intern, and when he came August 1st, 2022, he said, I'm not doing a GPR, Paul, and he's about to start his GPR at Montefiore because I said this magical year we can learn from bigger, stronger dentists, and it's normal for patients to know that your training is just an awesome opportunity to stretch your comfort zone. So I appreciate you sharing that. I also want to give a shout out our awesome sponsor, Lasso. Stephen from Lasso's on here. And wait, hold on. How did you meet Lasso? Oh, you just found Lasso on your own, right? You're just like, I went to Google websites. Could you tell me how you found Lasso?
Yeah, I was at a Dental Nachos event and talked to Steven and been connected with them since November. Now we have an amazing website with video testimonials, a YouTube channel. It's pretty cool with what the SEO is doing. So on average, we're not marketing at all in terms of ad spend or anything like that, and we get on average about 35 to 40 patients a month.
That's awesome. And I was just at the ASD with Steven, and he was presenting, and they're doing our hygiene center website, and also your website. It's really important. It's a tool to attract team members. It's a tool to attract hygienists and assistants. As soon as you apply for a job, you're going to look at their web presence, and it can be just as important. So people can text Lasso to 215-543-6454 to get connected and get the nacho deal. Also, my team member, they can put that in the Zoom chat, or Steven's welcome to do that well. Now, how did you find this practice?
Google. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was at
So, man, it was a journey for sure. Anyone that has kind of known me from D1 year knew that I kind of was I was sort of like a podcast listening kind of guy. I would prefer podcasts over school sometimes. And, I really, really enjoyed continuous learning is just one of my core values. So learning was always a huge part of kind of my journey, but podcasts, dentalpreneur, shared practices, even a little bit of Dental Amigos, believe it or not.
Thanks to Dental Paul's voice in your head. One of the things about the Dental Amigos, and we're going to go on a lot of tangents that Rob and I do, I said call him today, is he's an attorney and I'm a practicing dentist, plus do these things. And he's like a police officer that sees a lot of dental crime, right? Yeah. And sometimes in these Facebook worlds, they're overly positive. Oh, nothing bad's going to happen if you sign XYZ. And Rob's like, no, stuff bad happens if you sign XYZ. Like, you can't buy a practice where you want to. So there's a D2 on here I spoke with today, who's listening. I said, consuming podcasts, your D2 year is so key to just put stuff in your ear and keep learning. Question from our audience. Do you think being a member of the DSN would help an associate dentist who wants to own in the future?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, I signed up for DSN at DSS, Dental Success Summit, last year.
Oh yeah, we took those pictures in the beginning of the morning with your awesome wife Tanya.
Right, much more attractive than I am.
Yeah, just better all around in general, right? Yeah. So, so Serena can put in there, if you text DSN to 215-543-6454, you get a free 45-day link, and it is a totally nacho nuts price of like $199 a month to get access to this type of learning is amazing. So
one thing I'm gonna say that, with DSN, a lot of people don't know they have free CE on there. Free meaning $199 a month, but you also get a lot of other stuff with that. So I probably watched 30 hours of videos from the practice management side of DSN CE library. And so kind of going back to the associate that's looking to buy, it's a great foundation to be able to start thinking like an owner.
Yeah, and it's great. And also, my same mentor said, the busy is the booby prize. He looked at us in our GPR year and said, for every clinical course, take a practice management course, because that's the real stuff. Too many dentists take 97 courses on occlusion, still don't understand it. And they think that team management is this, stuff you can't touch or feel. And really, that's the key, patient communication. So remind us again, how did you find this practice?
Okay, so basically, it was podcasts. Fortune Management helped me find it. Jonathan Miller, Jonathan Miller.
I know Jonathan well.
Awesome. But I actually was kind of I was looking myself just to kind of help the hands in the cookie jar here. But Dental Town Classified is actually where I found it.
Well, go where people who are selling go. You know what I tell people? They go, I want to find a good job. I'm like, go to local CE. I don't like the topic. I don't care if you don't like the topic. That's where you want to live. You know, I love flying to the DSS and the ASD and Bulletproof Summit and all the things I'm doing. But if I was looking for a practice and not instead, I'd be at local Spear study clubs. I would sign up for Pharmacology 101 and sit next to a dentist who's older than me and say, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to hire an associate? Because the magic here, Christian, is they may not be, but they go, oh, my friend from dental school who isn't here right now. So I think that's an awesome thing. Dental Town classified ads.
Yeah. And then I also sent out, this is from, I think, shared practices, but I sent out postcards in residency with like my picture, my wife's picture, a little bio about us. I made it in Canva for free. And I printed out like 100 and sent it to like, I went on the Virginia dental board website and just searched for dentists with licenses that put them like 55 years above. And then I just cold messaged them. And so I got about like 10 calls from that. So 10%, I think is pretty good.
One of my boost camp friends did this too from the past, just like a make me move thing, reach out to them, show up at their offices. I also want to share, from the audience, is live TV. Christian Mullin is awesome. More awesome than Paul Goodman. That seemed unnecessary in the Princes. Super nice and helpful guy when I remember speaking with him. Mabrur Khan. So Mabrur is saying, you find the right person to join your practice. Well,
thanks, man.
Nice for you. So we're going to keep going with these questions, but which residency program did you do? Just curious, which age you did?
I went to East Carolina University.
Also, another amazing young dentist, Dr. Jordan Brown, everyone. He has an entire residency guide. He's done the work. He's put it together. If you do, Serena, see if you could do the text JB number or follow at Dr. Jordan Brown on Instagram. He's done a breakdown of all of these different residencies, the pros and the cons. So I know people can text into our number, Serena JB, but I guess if they do that, put that in there, we'll get them to Jordan. Why did you buy this specific practice?
Yeah, so basically one big thing for me was location, and parking is obviously a big one. Cumulative tenure amongst the staff. There was every staff member was basically there. The average was about over 10 years. And so that told me that the culture was kind of already pretty awesome. We did the math, and actually one of the fun exercises we did in the beginning was we added up everyone's cumulative experience, and it ended up being over 300 years. So it was just a really cool thing that we ended up doing, but just the staff is just amazing. The team is amazing. It was doing 1.1 million. And frankly, that made me a little bit nervous. And Jonathan helped, and same with Ryan Plant, my practice coach. Basically, they were like, hey man, they're kicking me in the butt and saying, this is it. I had sent them basically a vision of what I wanted before we even started looking. And then they basically brought that out when we started looking at the numbers and stuff like that for the practice. And they were like, dude, this all matches up like perfectly.
And one of the things you're talking about here is, I even think we lightly touched on this at DSS of June last year, this about you buying this practice. I wasn't, one of your paid coaching people, but the concept of a practice doing over 1 million, that's a good thing, right? Yeah. I would tell people, if you made me say it, I say your first practice does between 800 and 1.2. That's a great range to be in. Yep. Lower than that can be a challenge. Higher than that doesn't mean bad. You just have to make sure you have the dental skills to replicate what they're doing.
Correct.
And sometimes the older dentists might have charisma and patient communication skills you don't have. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. But you tell me about this. Keep saying this, Jonathan. So you hired these people.
Yeah.
To kind of kindly annoy you into a good decision, right? To kind of say, we don't agree with the way you're thinking in this. Tell me the value of those people in your lives.
Man, so I played soccer for a long time. So I've had coaches all my life, and I just found such great value in a third party perspective, because, when I'm running on the field, I don't see what I'm doing, but they can. And so, coaches to me are invaluable because they can see stuff that you can't see, and they're able to keep you accountable.
And the thing about it too, you're saying such a valuable stuff. I'll add, they also do this with a lot of other players, and they bring in the other players' experience. So you're not as special as you think, no matter what our grandmother said about us. So when Mark Costas looks at 78 practices and can bring that advice to you, when Jonathan Miller and Fortune Management say, there's a lot of dentists struggling with hiring team, and I know you don't want to pay your hygienist $5 more, but you should pay your hygienist $5 more. So that's why coaches think looking outside of your box, awesome.
Right.
And having the context, like I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, of these other practices.
Yeah.
Another shout out for Christian. You're awesome, Christian. I'm so fortunate to have gone to dental school with you. You're a great inspiration and mentor for anyone looking for guidance, and always go to Paul Goodman's CE courses. That was the end part there. So, that's like one of your classmates there. So we're going to have about 5 questions. I'm going to turn over your slides. Yeah. Just to reinforce, I actually say to my team, I'm not repeating myself, I'm reinforcing good ideas. Who did you hire to create this growth? If you said, here's my team that helped me create this growth. We've talked about the DSN, which I know I kind of want to put that in a different category, because that's
that's a little bit different, but yes, it was helpful. My team, my professional team, if you will. So Fortune Management, I have a great local attorney here that's dental medical specific, but she does 90% dental. Erica Perro, she's awesome in the Virginia Beach area. And then I have a CPA who's local to us, also in a dental division. And then it's interesting, actually, Ryan, the coach that comes in monthly to our practice, he has helped me kind of create these connections as well. So it's not just, analytics and stuff like that, but it's also connections that he has, or
and that's why, Ryan, I'm just going to hopefully add value here. Jared Duckett, one of our sponsors, was talking about at our recent thing. It's the who is going to get you there, right? Not always the how.
Yeah,
and the who is inside of other people's heads and their relationships that you literally can never meet unless they gift you with this, right? And I mean, gift or, paid advisor too. But like when I say, hey, this is someone that you can meet, Rob Montgomery, you would have maybe never have met someone like that without these relationships. So I think that's so key. So you have the Fortune Management team you hired to create this growth. You use DSN as a resource. And I also know that you invest in CE yourself. What's some of the CE you've invested in, whether it's clinically or practice management?
Yeah. So I'm a CE junkie. And I have about 400 hours already. I'm a Panky guy. So I'm actually going to Panky the Essentials 2 in about a month, which I'm pretty excited about. I've done Ripe Global, the treatment planning stuff. I've done dental nachos.
You actually you're a late addition to Super Dentist Boost Camp. So you can tell people Super Dentist Boost Camp is for practice owners looking to survive, thrive, not cry, live their best life.
Yes.
People can, Serena just put out, they can text Boost to 215-798-9897. We have a few spots left to come in person. Someone with the initials MS on here has come in person in the past. You can also watch online. But what made you sign up for Super Dentist Boost Camp?
I think it's the feeling I got from DSS. In-person events are just, you can't beat them. And I think I was trying to beat them. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I can save some money. But then, when you get a certain, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like you get this invigorating feeling after an in-person event versus when you're sitting at home at 8 o'clock, and you're watching a CE on access and instrumentation for endo. You're like, this sucks.
Yeah, and also it's the Mark says it's the coffees, it's the glasses of wine, it's the hanging out, it's the, hey, we're all going to go to Elvez. You've also called me for restaurant recommendations at 9 p.m. at night when you came in. You did Aaron Nicholas's course. So investing in yourself, it's worth the money, right? One of the things that drives me nacho nuts, Christian, is dental students objectively have taken out $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 of money to get their degree. Then they graduate and they say, I can't afford anything. I can't afford C to get better. I said, that's how you pay back the money you took out. Now's not the time to stop. And I understand the apprehension, but I find that dentists who invest early learn these skills they can use forever. And I appreciate you being a role model for that
I
for
appreciate
our
it.
dental nachos community. This is a really actually a good question. I ask people this. Why do you, I mean, this isn't mine actually, but why do you want to grow more? Why do you want to grow more?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but we're not marketing at all, like other than the website and the YouTube stuff, but no ad campaigns, no ad spend or anything like that. It's honestly a supply and a demand issue, because I actually just asked my office manager today. I said, hey, restoratively for a 90-minute appointment for a crown prep. And yeah, I do 90 minutes for crown preps, whatever, And so 14 weeks I'm booked out.
And also, I love this kind of. So first of all, one of the reasons why a 90-minute crown prep is reasonable is you are checking hygiene during those times. You have to also be ready. It's actually interesting. Associates, if you have to check 2 hygienists, you're in the same boat. But practice owners have so many things going through your mind as you're doing things that you need to create cushions to do other things that are unexpected, right? So you have the hygiene checks. But I was just talking to a dentist about this. It's really not comfortable to go to a hygiene exam, tell someone you'd benefit from a crown. It's really important. And then say, we can do it 3.5 months from now. Tell us why that doesn't come off right and creates stress for everybody in the office.
Yeah. So, I mean, equating that to like sort of new patients, right? My front office staff, they were like, oh yeah, new patients are calling, but they said they would check somewhere else because we can't get them in. I'm like, no, what? Why is what? So,
but your team, you're the one who's created this monster, because they're just like, what do you want us to do, Dr. Christian? Right? Like, you want to clone yourself? You want to work till midnight, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, okay, let's look at the schedule, let's see what we can do. And then they were like, Doc, you can't, you're doing a lot. And I said, okay, you're right. So getting patients in a reasonable amount of time is just so crucial for not only growth, but keeping the people that you love and that, the patients that you've developed relationships with. If they have to wait, say a crown doesn't go in. Well,
right.
And so turning new patients away. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is kind of going back to my why of comprehensive dentistry and just developing relationships with patients. Slowing down and seeing, between 8 and 15 patients a day versus 15 to 30 is not necessarily my ideal vision. And I want someone to help me with, to create an atmosphere that breeds relationship building rather than, churn and burn, fillings that, you want to, the class 2 band crinkles and you're like, give me a new one.
Yeah, right. And what I'll also add to this is, as someone who's worked with a lot of dentists, I work as part of a group. It's not as much about the money as is your morale, because if you don't make any changes, 25 years from now, you're going to look pretty much exactly the same. And it's going to be 25 years of staring down those same schedules. And I'm not saying if that's right for somebody, okay, but it can affect vacation time. It can affect family flexibility, and it can create vulnerability from, an injury, right? Just somebody getting injured playing soccer. We bought a practice, Christian, from a guy who tore his shoulder at the age of like 61. He was out for 4 months. His practice would have just fallen apart. So we purchased his practice. We merged into our office. We let him check hygiene for 4 months and left 4 months and then joined us. But if he was like a 36-year-old guy starting out, that'd be a problem. So I really, that's a great answer to that.
Yeah.
Next question from the audience. Have you had any issues with staff leaving? How'd you get them on your side? What advice can you give to keep staff happy and prevent them from leaving in the transition?
Yeah. So I have, this is a bit interesting. So I have a leadership coach as well, outside of dentistry, and his name is Tim Wakeham. But basically what he does is he helps me become a better leader. And one thing that he taught me was leading instead of from top down, leading from the middle. So instead of a kind of a hierarchical approach, more of a spider web approach. And
Cool.
so instead of saying, hey, this is the system I want to set up and this is how we're going to do it, saying, hey, this is the outcome I'm looking for. You guys have a lot of experience. How can we get to this outcome?
Yeah.
I'm looking for your guys' help to get to this outcome. What do you guys think about that? And so it's such a subtle shift, but and it doesn't necessarily come naturally to me. So I have to kind of like slow down when I talk, and I like when we're kind of brainstorming things, because I want to solve problems. I'm like a problem solver.
Yeah.
And but we don't know what we don't know as dentists, to solve, say, a front desk problem. When we're in the back all day, you don't know what's going on in the front
And
necessarily.
you can also really annoy your team when you have no context of their pain.
Correct.
You go, why don't you just do X, Y, Z? And they
Yeah.
look at you like you have two heads, you have it up there. I mean, one story I can share about getting the team on your side. I did join my dad, and that comes with pros and cons, because when your team has known you as a child, it's not easy for them to think you as the leader. So all I wanted us to do one time, Christian, was wear the same color scrubs one day a week, right? My dad and his partners, is 2006, they gave him like $600 a year and said, go buy scrubs, right? So but I saw people wearing Christmas scrubs in July, and I didn't like it, right? So I said, let's do one day. They didn't like it. People started crying. I said, you know what? You guys can pick the color in the day. And I stood my ground. And guess what? They picked the color in the day. The world kept spinning. And slowly now we all wear the same color scrubs. So I love that leading from the middle. I didn't walk in with a pile of bright pink scrubs and say, wear them. But I said, this is what we need to do. You guys figure out how to do it. I'm going to put boundaries on it. So I really like that. How much money do you set aside from your income or pay or production to invest in CE each year? Could you give us a range of what you invest in, dollar wise, and how you figure that out?
Yeah. So I typically save in general about 20% of my income. And so I allocate a portion of that. So you can pick a percentage, whatever that is for you. It can depend on different people. So in the beginning, I knew that the ROI was going to be greater for me if I did it on the front end of my career, because that's compound interest. So I will always have that information, or I can at least use that information to build on other information. So for me, I kind of was like, if it made me excited, I kind of just did it. And that's probably not great in the beginning, but that's kind of how I did it.
But it's better than not doing it at all. So some of my residents, I actually say, first year out, you spend $10,000 on CE, figure out a way to spend $10,000. They go, Paul, what if it's not the right course? I go, you're going to take a lot of not right courses. Take 6 courses, 3 are great. And also, dentists are so negative, Christian. I have probably sat in more CE, given more CE. The amount that's totally stunk, it's pretty low, right? Most people are up there. You can learn something from them. What I find actually most dentists do is associate dentists want to take CE on sleep apnea in a PPO office where no one's going to do sleep apnea. It's taking the wrong, and that's why I'm typing in for Right Global, because you said something that Dr. Brett Burris, you got to meet Dr. Brett Burris, because he schedules his years out. He's my age, right? So he took Lincoln Harris's Right Global course, invested like 20 to 25 grand as a practice owner, 12 to 13 years out of school. And he said, I did it because I wanted to be able to deliver better care as a PPO dentist. He goes, now I'm doing full mouth rehabs. And what he said in the video is, I wish I did this sooner so I could have got the ROI on this sooner for my patients and my practice.
Yeah.
So when people are telling you that, whether you're listening online, find the resources to invest early, because the people who do this seem to be the happiest. And that also seems to align with being profitable in a way that makes sense to them. That's what you agree with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that CE is just freaking awesome. Love it.
So now I want to go to some of your stats. So you prepared some slides for us, because I know people say, show me the story. So we will get to a few more questions. I still see the babysitters out there. She's doing fine. I think they're hopefully getting to bed. The key when you're a parent is try to keep doing something until they get to bed, Christian. So that's a good tip for you later. If you have a babysitter, try to stay on your Zoom until they're in bed, because if you walk out and there's no bed, all chaos breaks loose. So you're as you bring it over, I want to share with people. We've given out resources. Serena, you can put in text boost to 215-798-9897 to get free business of dentistry training. We have our Right Global resources here. Serena, check that out there. So you can share your screen whenever you're ready. Christian.
Yeah, I'm just kind of opening random screenshots from my.
You might have to hit that green share thing first because I don't see it yet.
Yeah, I got you. Hang on one second here.
So what Christian's going to share with us, I have it through Dentrix, it could be through Dental Intel, is stuff that helps you track your stats in your practice so you can tell the story. Could be anything from new patients, monthly collections, AR, things happening like that. And here it comes. Perfect. Awesome.
So these are just some screenshots from, can you guys see that?
Hey, Christian, make sure you get Serena, get some pictures of us next to this production. I always wanted to look at this.
So this is basically a production year over year. January, it was me by myself with 2.5 hygienists and 2 assistants. And then you'll see in February, we has outpaced 2021, March, and we've been kind of consistently growing. June, we're probably going to end up a little bit above here. I don't know when this was taken, but yeah, I mean, you got to remember that these numbers are also with one less dentist. So that has been, there's definitely room for growth, basically, is what I'm trying to say. That's
that May month was a pretty high month. Was that what do you attribute that to?
So I did, we had a couple of, we have the Trios 5 scanner, and we had a couple patients come in, I think on, it was actually the same day for they wanted new dentures. And so we did upper and lower dentures. We took a reline of those, scanned the dentures in, and then we're able to actually, obviously produce a lot more dentistry than that was even on the schedule, which was great. So Trio scanner, Trios 5 is amazing. Awesome. And then we did I did a 5-unit anterior case. I know 5 is weird, but it made sense for the time. So yeah, collections year over year. We got our collection processes in order. And now we just hired an Edge employee, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh, wait again, another Paul Goodman thing. So Christian, I always have to share a good idea. And yes, I happen to be on the board of Edge, whatever that is. I hope they get me a gavel or something, right? I'm on the board and they're a sponsor. Edge came to me. I'm 20 years into this. And they go, we can give you a remote team member for $11 an hour to do any job where you don't have to be in front of the patient. And I said, how soon can you get me this person? And we had the amazing Dua during the pandemic, right? Currently, I have Dua working with my Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect team. But what Dua would do, she'd follow up on unscheduled treatment. She would schedule hygiene. She would respond to our Swell, their Nacho sponsors review. She could do anything that Kate, my office manager, needed her to do, not in front of a patient, for $11 an hour. I said, every dentist should have a Dua, right? Go ahead, Chuck. Now you're getting a remote team member. What was either the pain or the positivity or the combination that has you hiring a remote team member? I love this story.
So Jenny, Beth, and Jude are all my front office team. Beth is my office manager, but basically they're all doing kind of, in business, you kind of don't want to hire someone until you have enough pain to where it kind of like people are doing more than what their job is. And it's kind of stressing them a little bit. And it's like, okay, we need to make a change or else bad stuff's going to happen. Right. And so we got to that point where it got to the collections were dropping, and not because they weren't doing a good job, but because we were producing so much more dentistry and there was that many more claims and there was only one person. And so we hired Alishba, her name, she goes by Ali as well. She started Monday actually, and she's been crushing it. And so Jenny, my insurance coordinator, said she was freaking out because she's like, oh, you know what? I don't know if this is like, is my job going to be replaced? And I'm like, no, it's not. Right. Help you. Trust me. And so she came up to me yesterday or today, and she says, She is awesome. And she
That's
literally
great.
did a happy dance in my office. It was hilarious.
And I
But
want to share. I mean, I love this, and you deserve the credit. I just deserve the credit for kindly annoying the community into doing better things. Because I was a dentist, I ran a practice for all these years. I'm like, I wish I had a team member like this, because my team can't focus on patient service. And I give your team member credit, because yes, change can be threatening, but
yeah,
once as you see it implemented, she's going to be like, I don't know how we ever worked without an Alishba from Edge. That's what
she
it's going to feel like in
so
3 months.
excited that we got it sorted out. But yeah, you can see like numbers wise, we got our collection processes in order. We collect upfront for patients, except for cleanings and stuff like that. So that we're up, I think 40% this year. This is basically just showing the growth. This was just for May. I just pulled this report, but yeah, I mean, 43 new patients. We lost two probably because we couldn't get them in time. But on average, we're about net growth of 40 per month.
Which, just so the audience is understanding this, for some dental students who do 17 visit dentures, one visit, they just look at the bite rim. That's enough for the visit. We look at it, we put it back in the box, right? And they think, too many new patients, that could never be a problem, right? But it's a problem because you don't have the room in your schedule, and the energy to see a new patient is different than an existing patient. So processing too many in one day, to me, has always been challenging. So I think that, and also this is just, I can hopefully give you some helpful tips on here. Once you have an associate, we'll call your associate Dr. P. The patient doesn't know any different. So that's their new dentist, right? Like, you can have the associate Dr. P see 5 new patients a day. You can connect with them on the treatment plan. You can connect behind the scenes of this, but it's so wonderful because they have no context of the Dr. Christian Mullin or the other dentist. So that is why an associate unlocked new patient awesomeness, in my experience.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. What is this? This is May. I just pulled last month, I think, but net production, we did 208,000. We ended up doing gross 265,000, and our goal is 125,000.
So I cannot wait to make the show notes from this, because it's going to be, Serena, I want you to put list of good ideas by Paul Goodman that Christian Mullin would cry if he didn't have. Insurance adjustments and how you get paid by insurance. Any comments on that for the audience?
Well, first of all, this is Addit. Did I meet Addit through you?
Addit, you probably I think that might have been someone else.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
I'm talking, did you knew any negotiation tactics? Oh, you did.
Yeah, so we negotiated with Vivek Kinra,
PPO Profits, awesome nacho sponsor.
51% increase on our previous insurance reimbursements, which is just amazing.
So talk to the audience about this, because Vivek and I talk about this, or you might be saying Vivek, and I met him in Chicago and I said, drop everything and do this. He gets all the credit for growing PPO Profits, but him and I met at a CE course I was speaking. He goes, Paul, I do like bookkeeping for practice. I said, stop. I go, just do this thing with the insurance reimbursement, because I'm just going to use a number. Your number might have been lower, but I'm going to, for $8,000, he charges a practice to say, I'm going to get you better fees.
Yeah. Huge ROI.
What ROI, just to paint a picture for our audience? You pay $8,000 to Vivek. You don't have to do one more second of extra work, right? There's no extra work.
No. So I guess the way I thought about it was, okay, call it 10 grand. Who cares?
Right.
$10,000. And every crown you do is $250 more.
Yeah.
So 4 crowns is $1,000. 40 crowns you pay off PPO Profits. Most people do that in a couple months.
Right.
And so that's that compounding ROI and interest that you have to think about. Even though I did this in September or October of 2022, when I just signed a very large practice note, and I was terrified of cash flow, and I didn't really know what was going on. And I said, you know what? If you think about it, and this is where Ryan came in. Ryan said, this is a no-brainer. You need to do this. And so kind of that third party perspective came in. So kind of everything comes full circle when you kind of
Yeah,
think.
and I believe, Christian, over your entire career, that will be one. And even if you wind up going out of network at some point, 10 years from now, or it will still be one of the most 3 years from now, the most powerful financial things you could have ever done, and morale based. I'll say his name, Tim Pruitt, was like you. He was DMing me on Facebook from California at 9 p.m. his time, midnight my time. Should I do Vivek? Oh, you should test out as a sponsor. I'm not sure if I should do Vivek. Why don't you test it out? It's just $7,000. We went back and forth. I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to help you anymore if you don't try it. And he tried it, and he says it's the number one thing he's ever done. It has like a 5,000% ROI. I used somebody prior to Nachos who got us better fees. We paid like $5,000. It had at least a 20x ROI. So I just wanted to point out, negotiating your insurance fees is incredibly powerful.
100% agreed.
Back to you. That was my rant on that.
One of the best things that we ended up doing, which was just, yeah, there's been hiccups, of course, but again, I have a rock star team, and Vivek will probably tell you, he goes, dude, I need to steal. Do you guys want to come to work in Chicago?
Yeah, that's great.
So again, this is me production. This is net production. So I don't know when this was. I think it was last month, probably. Or no, this was current. So 900 per hour. It's not like I'm doing anything crazy. I'm not doing huge surgeries. I am a bread and butter practice that does a little bit of Invisalign. I have 10 cases going right now. Nothing astronomical.
So you're doing fundamental restorative dentistry.
Restorative dentistry. And I do crown and bridge, implant restorations. I do fillings, obviously. And I do a little bit of endo, but I don't do molars. Sorry, Aaron, Nicholas. But no, it's really because I don't have time to. I can open a tooth.
Well, you know what's interesting, Chris? I mean, you make a good point. You have a business model that runs on $1.6 million of mainly fundamental bread and butter. I call it kale and quinoa. Who eats bread and butter? Nobody. Is it your cheat day on your diet? It's the opposite, right? But your business model, you don't have time for things that aren't predictable, and molar endo is not predictable.
Right. So yeah, I mean, this is just, again,
take a screenshot of this, Serena, and everyone should take a screenshot of this, because what Christian's showing you is just the stats of how a practice runs, stats of how, if you know you're doing what, like you put these goals in here. I'm assuming you don't cry for the whole day if you miss a goal one day, do you? Or do you have a whole cry day because of it?
You know what? It's so funny. When I was an associate, I tracked this stuff so frequently. And then when I became a practice owner, I do look at this stuff, but not as like meticulously as I did. Well, mainly because I think I'm crying about other stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think this is just a combination of systems, an amazing team that I could not do this without, and just working hard. I think a lot of people are scared of just saying you got to work hard. Like, yeah, dentistry's hard sometimes, and it's okay. But when you do hard things, that's what makes you stronger.
I tell us a little bit about this. You have one more here I want to see.
Cool. Yeah, last one. And then just showing the write-off, it's 25%, 25.8%. Net production for this year is 862. So if you double that, it's like, I don't know, 1.6 or something like that.
And that's, I mean, take a screenshot for me too, I can use it for later. I mean, I really appreciate, the audience appreciates for your dentist that you're taking the time to break this down. We'll have kind of a fun 10-minute wrap up, but I want to share with you that this should be talked about more as early as possible in people's dental lives, because this is the calories that you eat. This is your fitness pal for your practice. And if you don't know this stuff and never know it's a thing, I want to share, sadly, Christian, so this isn't tragic, but one of my brother and I, we're kind of done buying practices, but occasionally people ask us if we want to buy another practice. We're like, sure, we'll hear about it. So one of our friends is like, he owns practices. He's like, let's buy this practice together, possibly. This dentist collects almost $1 million a year, but only makes like $100,000 a year. And it's totally possible, because if you do not pay attention, the overhead gets to be too much. And it's just sad to me that dental school doesn't at least infuse that this is stuff you should pay attention to. They don't need the Mark Costas Mastermind D2 year, but they need to know that, like, hey, this stuff is meaningful. I mean, you've seen practices where those adjustments are horrific, right?
50%, 40%.
and they're wondering why they can't make any money, and they're probably blaming themselves.
Or they're probably blamed. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, I don't understand. Or it's the insurance coordinator's fault because she can't collect enough. No, it's probably the insurance adjustments that is probably that you don't realize how much dentistry you have to do. You have to do double the amount of dentistry if you're 50%,
Yeah.
if you're a 50% adjustment. And so that is, you don't want that. You don't want
I was
that.
just posting, we're out of network now. Many patients have left, but some have stayed because spoiled guac PPO. They're just like, we don't want to find it. I mean, there was a service that was $300 and insurance paid $76, right? They do have to pay the $224 in our office, but there are offices that take that $76. I'm not judging them. I'm just sharing that it's very hard to do a service well for that. Also, because stop share your screen, I'm just going to show one more thing and we'll wrap up here with a few last minute questions. I want to share, you've gotten the most questions of any Zoom webinar in the history of my Zoom webinars. I cannot extract, pun intended, questions from people most of the time, but Christian Mullin comes on and it's question city. So I want to remind people that this whole point of this is share that Christian is looking to hire an associate. You can text VA to 215-798-9897 to learn more about how you can work directly with Christian or learn more about him. The DSM, which we've talked about, is an affordable, amazing sponsor that everyone could just be a part of, learn. They have your back in that community. You've talked about your coaches. Christian, I want to just go to a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
Now that you're an owner, how does student loans work with your practice loan, or is that a factor for you?
Good question. I think previously, man, this is going to be hilarious. Previously, I viewed all debt as bad debt. And then I really didn't have a concept of how to do personal finance. And then I read basically 5 to 10 personal finance books. And now I view debt as good debt versus bad debt. Student loan debt to me is good debt. And then also I hired student loan planner.
Oh my God, Serena, we're this menu of show notes. Student loan planner, another nacho sponsor.
This is before you, but nonetheless, that is someone I used, and they immensely reduced my anxiety about paying back student loans. So I'm doing a repayment program, even though I could pay it off, because if you end up paying them off, you can potentially make that money somewhere else, like, doing something else in today's dollars. I'll let them explain it because it makes much more sense when a smart person explains it versus me. And,
Well, Travis Hornsby's on the Dental Amigos. I think you would enjoy listening to it, even just for fun. So he's one of the early episodes. And the story is his wife, I think, is a doctor. She refinanced her student loans, cost the family like $51,000. Just like sign something. It might not be 51. He said he was working the finance industry. He's like, I have to solve this. Two of my most favorite people, husband and wife, just like you and your awesome wife, they've done so many nacho things. They did Boost Camp 4.
Yep.
They said of all of my sponsors, Travis Hornsby helped them the most because combined they had like over $650,000 in debt. They were so anxious, so dentist about it. And he said, I'll sit down with you, my team, and they charge. I tell Travis, I wish I was his business coach. I'm like, watch this, Travis, double your prices. Oh, but double them. He charges this ridiculously affordable fee.
Correct.
Consultations, right?
I agree. And they're very, very comprehensive. I mean, so comprehensive that maybe 3 months ago, I did another one. I was like, hey man, my situation's changed. Help. Do I pay these off or do I not? And it doesn't make sense for me at this time. So from that standpoint, that was super beneficial. But for the practice loan, if you do all the due diligence on the front end, this is where a coach comes into play. They factor all of that into the situation. Like, if the practice is cash flowing well, you just have to replicate what they're doing and then you're good. And that's what I thought was going to happen. And it just turned into explosive growth, which I was just not predicting.
Yeah. I mean, you really said something valuable. Finding a practice with good cash flow is the key. Not thinking you're going to transform a $400,000 practice into a $1.2 million practice. That's a very, very hard thing to do. Those practices are that way for a reason. There's no judgment on them, but unless you come in with a skill set that you can do something that they were referring out, that amount of production out, and that's hard to do. Someone had said they liked your leadership talk. Was the DSN helpful for leadership? Are there other resources? Could you sort of reinforce, where would you go for leadership help as a dentist?
DSN for sure. Also, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willing, great book. Man, sometimes I just search best leader. Oh, you know what you do? You type into Chat GPT, best leadership books, top 5 leadership books that I should read to be a better business owner. I love, oh my gosh, he's all about empathy. You just said his name earlier.
Gary V?
Yeah, Gary V. I love Gary V. I read Crush It a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, I like reading a lot. Kindle's great for me. Audiobooks, podcasts, stuff like that.
Yeah, Gary V talks all the time. I mean, you guys see me put something in your ear. You know, we have Dental Nachos Supreme CE. Serena can share that. Like, just listen to something on practice management when you're working out. You know, put something in the car. Not everything has to be visual. Those are great ones. Well, I can't thank you enough for doing this, Christian.
You're welcome. Awesome.
In a parting words thing, what would you say to a D4? It could be something that you're reiterating, but actually a D3. You're a D3 in dental school right now because there's some watching in. We're gonna have $472,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Give them like a mini treatment plan of success that you think would be good, or a roadmap that's reasonable. Not the only roadmap out there, whether it's go to more networking events, listen to podcasts, be willing to move for a job, search for as many practices as you search for practices. Give them like a little mini treatment plan to wrap up.
Okay. I would do workout at least 3 to 4 days a week. I would say during those workouts or on your way to work or your school or whatever, put on a free resource, whether that's a podcast, whether that's an audiobook, whether that's DSN's not free, but you can do it for 45 days.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And so I do like Peloton Zone 2 rides, and I just throw it up on my Samsung TV and, pedal it away for 45 minutes. And you can get a great learning session in there, like almost like an MBA during that time. So that's for like education. I would say that eat well. Believe it or not, that does come into play. I'm a big believer in that. Travis Hornsby was crucial with my anxiety with student debt, for sure. Highly recommend that. Consume as much free CE as you can. Don't be afraid to, networking was huge for me. Talk to labs in the city you want to go to. Talk to, you might not be able to talk to like supply reps, but those are also great resources.
Well, I want to share, because there's these, I see them on here, my buddies from last week from University of Maryland. So what I made them do at the breaks for DSS was they were not allowed to talk to each other, and they had to go up to every sponsor and say, hey, he's one of them. What do you do to help dentists? Take their card, write it in your iPhone notes. So when you go to events, stop talking to people that you flew there with, stop talking to people that you eat lunch with, go out and show your weirdness and just say, hey, what do you do to help dentists? I would love to learn, because you've talked already about student loan planner, and you've talked about how sponsors are not something to shy away from, but instead lean forward, because they're the ones who sometimes know their clients are selling a practice. They're the ones who sometimes know they're hiring an associate. So I absolutely love that advice. So what I want to share from you guys, I respect Christian's time. I'll leave the Zoom up for a minute. We can stop our videos in a second, Christian, but I want to say bye to you.
Yeah.
If you put one thing you learned in the chat tonight, I would really appreciate it. So I have a good tip for you for management, Christian, maybe you know. So don't tell your assistant, I need this room set up. Don't tell your front desk team member, we need to get these patients back. Say, would you help me? Right? It's such a key. So would you help me help other students like you, other dentists, and put one thing in the chat that you learned before we end this? Christian, you're an amazing guy. If someone wants to reach out to you directly, how could they do that?
Honestly, you can just text me. I'm like pretty chill. I'm a type B person, believe it or not. And so my cell phone is 517 974-0690. That is East Lansing, Michigan. Go State.
Nice. Serino put that in the chat too. So Christian, thanks. You did an amazing job. Everyone watching on Facebook, Zoom. Christian took an hour of his life to help you. If you're looking for an associate position with an awesome person, reach out to us through dentistjobconnect.com. Christian, I'll see you at Super Dentist Boost in just a month here. Thanks so much for everything.